There's rain being predicted in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night, but is there a win for the
Never.
Tigers? Let's find out.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Our intent was to eat. Our intent was to come eat and be hungry.
We're taking receipts, and we'll see you at the national championship.
Is that still true, Chad? Are we going to see you at the national championship, Brian Kelly?
I mean, I don't know.
Talk to us, Chad.
Maybe he has a press pass or something.
Welcome back, everybody, to the South End Zone. As my name is Tyler, as joined always by my good friend Chad. Before we get into anything, I want to make sure everybody likes, shares, comments, subscribes. We got a really halfway, okay, decent, not really weekend of college football, but don't worry, because the bar none best game of the entire weekend is half of this podcast. And LSU does, in fact, welcome the number 3 Texas A&M Aggies into Tiger Stadium this coming weekend. We have the week off. It couldn't have come a better time. So I'm going to let you get right into that, Chad.
Yeah. This was the one that, was supposed to be like this big matchup. And actually, look at things before the season. You see some of the matchups A&M has on their schedule going into this game. And, not crazy to think LSU could have been undefeated going into this game, and A&M could have been 5-2. Not how it has worked out. A&M got a really close, good win early on against Notre Dame, and that kind of got their season off onto this very right down the alley of A&M fandom to think that they are the greatest team in the history of sports, even though they've never won anything. But they get that win, 41-40 against Notre Dame. Then they have a pretty easy schedule outside of that. Texas San Antonio, Utah State, Auburn, Mississippi State. The Florida win was like their most impressive so far. They got all they could handle from Arkansas last week. No Le'Veon Moss, and he's going to be out again this week. I think he's out for like 3 more weeks with an ankle. But Reuben Owens is doing just fine for them in the running game. But they gave up 42 points to Taylor Green in Arkansas, and if Bobby Petrino manages timeouts a little bit better, they may be looking at a loss in that game. But LSU is. You could say LSU's had a tougher road, but some of those games that looked tougher before the season, Clemson not looking as tough, Florida not looking as tough, South Carolina certainly not looking as tough. So this one's kind of up in the air. Like LSU is at this very like seminal moment in their season where it's get up off the mat time, or you may be staring, a mid bowl in the face, and really. The way that the schedule lines up down the stretch with a road game at Alabama and another road game in Norman at Oklahoma to round out the regular season, you could be like fighting for bowl eligibility if you don't take care of your business everywhere else. And if you want to have any chance of making the playoff, it starts right here. This game was going to be extremely challenging anyway. If all the normal conditions were as they normally are in Tiger Stadium. But as you said in the open, chance of rain, usually the PA announcer comes on and he goes, Saturday night in Death Valley. And he goes through all the different, little sayings and everything that gets everybody fired up. And he says, chance of rain. And then in unison, everybody in the crowd, never. Well, there's like an 80% chance of rain Saturday night. So it's going to rain all day, I think, is what it's looking like. They're looking for like up to maybe even exceeding an inch of rain. And the field drains really well. That's all good. And it's not going to be like a torrential downpour or anything like that. It could just be a drizzle, mist kind of, light rain. But still, normal dry conditions versus wet ball, wet footing, all these things. We've seen it happen before. We saw it with Alabama against Michigan in their bowl game last year, where Jalen Milroe fumbled like 3 times, threw a pick. Like they lost the ball. It was all ball handling issues because of the rain. It can be a great neutralizer, but it can also be one that like exacerbates a weakness and accentuates a strength, depending on who's who. And in this case, you've got a team in Texas A&M that runs the ball really, really well, really effectively. They do throw the ball a lot. You got Marcel Reed throwing the ball downfield to Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver. And I don't know how effective that would be in the rain. Sometimes DBs have a hard time because they don't know which way you're going, and you do know which way you're going. So sometimes you can make cuts a little more effectively than they can because you're predicting your cut, you're setting your feet up, and they're having to react. But typically, like the deep passing game struggles a little bit in wet weather, especially if there's wind. But LSU's offense has struggled, period. So this could be one of those. The over-under is 48.5. This could be a defensive just knuckle dragger that I don't know really what to expect. No Le'Veon Moss for Texas A&M means that they're going to look for Reuben Owens to really keep them going, and they're going to do a lot of that read option with Marcel Reed, and I expect him to do a lot with his feet too. He killed us last year doing just that when he came in as a backup and took over for Connor Wegman. But this one stands to be like a who can run the ball more effectively and which teams, run defense can actually stuff the run and force teams to have to throw the ball, especially on third downs, so that you're making things a little more predictable and one-dimensional. LSU comes in with the number 37 run defense and number 40 pass defense. So right there around in the middle of the road. Arkansas is right there with them at number 38 against the run and number 39 against the pass. So the defenses are fairly even in those respects. Where Texas A&M has an advantage is much better offensively this year so far. Number 22 against the run, number 29 against the pass. And then LSU is number 110 against the run and number 66 against the pass. But I will say, let's go back to that schedule. The numbers that you put up offensively against Texas San Antonio, where you put up 44 points, against Utah State, where you put up 44 points, against Mississippi State, where they put up 31, they put up 45 against Arkansas, who can't stop a nosebleed. They did put up 34 against Florida at home, and LSU only put up 20 against Florida in a home game as well. But you look at some of the other matchups that LSU has had, where it's been a little more challenging on the road at Clemson, then on the road at Ole Miss, and on the road at Vanderbilt. Like these are all much tougher defenses than the defenses I just mentioned that Texas A&M has faced. So you got to take that a little bit with a grain of salt. But it seems to be a really interesting matchup because can LSU reach down deep and find something? The problem is they may be doing that without Whit Weeks and without Bernard Gooden again, because Whit Weeks is still in the walking boot as of Wednesday. Bernard Gooden has been getting a little bit of practice in, but it's light work. He's done some individual reps and some team reps. I just don't know fully what to expect from this defense. Ashton Stamps left the team. Here's our number 4 corner. He was actually starting all year last year, and played, in the game against Clemson, played a good bit, but he has now left the team because they were holding him back to basically make sure that he would have a red shirt availability. And so they're doing him a solid, doing that with him and there's one other guy. I can't remember. Oh, Jordan Gilbert, safety. But Ashton Stamps left the team. So, perhaps it's a mutual thing where they said, look, we're not going to activate you. We're going to let you, because we don't want to burn your red shirt. And then if you do want to transfer, you don't have anywhere to go because you don't have any years left of eligibility. So kind of doing him a solid there, but he is leaving the team. But yeah, so LSU's down to their top 3 DBs, and then you have to dig a little deeper into your depth chart because a guy who was starting for you last year is no longer part of the team. Just going to be challenging. A lot of stuff that A&M throws at you offensively that you have to prepare for and defend against. And in the elements like they are, and with your backs up against the wall, this spread at 2.5 is kind of interesting to me. Makes me think, I think if you asked your average man on the street who knows ball before this line came out, where they thought the line would be after LSU lost to Vanderbilt and after A&M was starting off the way that they were, I think most people would have thought this would have been a touchdown or more for A&M. So the fact that it's only 2.5 says maybe there's a little something there, a little hope for the Tigers, but we're in a tough spot, man. I'll be perfectly honest. Like this is not how anybody envisioned this season going, especially not with Brian Kelly saying those things about we're taking receipts we'll see in the national championship in the off season, and then going out and spending all the money they spent in the portal and beefing up this defense, and then looking the way that they looked the first week. And then you find out that apparently Clemson sucks, even though they were number 4 in the country and everybody's, one of their preseason sleeper favorites to win the national championship. It ain't that way. And so now LSU is kind of treading water, sucking air, trying to find, where they can find something to turn this season around, because it's bleak if they don't get this done.
Yeah, I think you have a best on best where you have their offense versus your defense. And you talk about the elements, right, affecting their offense, but you always have to where are you going to find the points against them is going to be an even bigger question. Because they have a solid defense as well. They can get to the quarterback.
Yep.
Cassius Howell's a stud. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how that shakes out. And so the weather plays a factor. But Texas A&M is going to can put up points in a hurry if you let them. So I don't know, man. I work as your friend and fellow podcast host. I worry for your team in this game.
Yeah, well,
that Clemson win has aged like the sourest milk that's ever existed.
Yeah,
it's a win, I should say. It's a win, but but what it was then and what it is now is so different. But like you said, Texas A&M being 7-0, and you feeling, they're
still 8-4 until proven otherwise.
Bias and theory against them holds true. They got to find 4 losses quick.
That's right.
So who knows?
Yeah.
I
will say this: them getting to the quarterback is like a thing. Like they're really good at getting to the quarterback, but
right.
I've given credit to the offensive line for keeping Nussmeier clean for the most part. 9 sacks on the year so far as a team. 5 of those were against Louisiana Tech and Southeastern. So you look at all the other games, the 5 other games, and there are 4 combined sacks across 5 SEC and the Clemson game, right? Power 4 teams that you've played, 4 sacks in 5 games. But then you watch the Vanderbilt game, you watch the Ole Miss game, you go back and look at the tape, and it's Nussmeier has a little Dan Marino in him where he can make your offensive line look a lot better than it actually is, because he gets rid of the ball so quickly. And he throws the ball off his back foot a lot, trying to avoid. So he's trying to avoid a sack. And that's where sometimes the poor decisions that he gets critiqued for come from, is he's avoiding sacks. He avoids sacks among the best in college football, but at what expense? And if the weather is like it is on Saturday night, and they are getting to him, and he's trying to get rid of the ball quickly, you got a wet ball, ball floats a little bit or anything like that, it could be a recipe for turnovers. But that's the other thing, so the elements being the great neutralizer, where comes it? I don't know, how big are Marcel Reed's hands? Is he going to have some exchange problems running the RPOs and read option stuff with Reuben Owens? How is all that stuff going to work out? Is he going to be able to drive the ball downfield? Are they going to have a ball slip out of somebody's hands? Because whoever handles the reign the best is most likely going to be the team that wins this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that when you have also really dynamic receivers like Concepcion and Craver, I think that they can find a way to break free even in any conditions. So it's just going to be very, very, very interesting. And who knows, maybe because of the rain, neither defense is going to be able to make any stop. It's going to be an offensive,
Yeah,
offensive shootout. All I know
be.
is this is the bar none the best game of the entire weekend. You guys get the national spotlight.
Right. Yay.
So, yay. So I'm excited for y'all. And this is a big one. Once again, I think at this point, every week is a prove it for Texas A&M and their legitimacy but so far they've faced, taken over every test they've come across. They beat Notre Dame in South Bend, barely, mind you, but they beat them. And so they're still sitting here undefeated with a spot to Atlanta up for grabs for them for like the first time in forever, maybe ever.
No. I mean, they were right there last year. They were 7-1 with a spot in Atlanta in their sights.
That is true.
And they crap the bed like they always do. This is the time of year that Texas A&M starts pissing down their leg.
Yeah. So if they don't do that, then
late October, early November. Yep, that's right.
If you don't do that, then Chad can't say anything about you, but he can until you'll have to
proven otherwise.
Until proven otherwise. But hey, big weekend. Very excited. But yeah, that's I'm nervous for you, Chad. I'm not gonna lie. I'm nervous for you. But I'm
nervous for me too.
I'm nervous for you. But in this podcast, because I like when this podcast wins, everything is better, and we're off this week, so y'all have to take care of business.
That's right.
So the other big profile game of the week, which I'm actually kind of shocked that College Game Day didn't go to Tiger Stadium a little bit. I don't know. There's a couple. I mean, there's a couple games you could have chose from. Like nothing really other than y'all's game and this game, nothing really rises to the top.
Ole Miss Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's a good one too. Yeah. But it's all middle of the road. Obviously, everything's a playoff implication because we all are sitting around one win or about, and so we'll see. This game is very hard to read, in my opinion, because if you look at the stats leading into this game, and statistically speaking, Mizzou leads Vanderbilt in pretty much almost every category. Overall offense, Mizzou 10th in the FBS versus Vanderbilt 24th in the FBS. They beat them in rushing by a fair amount. The 7th in the FBS versus 21st. Shout out to Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts. Dogs, both of them. Vanderbilt has a little bit of edge in scoring offense with with 41.4 versus 39. Missouri's overall defense, 5th in the FBS to Vandy's 29. So statistically speaking, you would have to lead Missouri. But if you go off recently how they've looked against their opponents, you almost want to go with Vanderbilt here.
Yeah. Missouri had everything they could handle from Auburn.
Right. You have that common opponent with Alabama, one being Vanderbilt going on the road to Tuscaloosa, and Missouri getting Alabama at home. And yes, Missouri closed the gap at the end in the reverse, where Alabama actually put up an insurance score at the end of the Vanderbilt game. And I think the biggest X factor in any game this year with the Vanderbilt Commodores is Diego Pavia and that fuck you football mentality. This game is in Nashville. He's going to be feeding off that home crowd. Mizzou has a really, really great run defense, and they've faced running quarterbacks already. They've beaten South Carolina, Lenore Sellers. Who else?
They had Jackson Arnold last week.
Last week. So they've, it's not like they haven't seen a running quarterback before. But
this is actually a really good matchup, I think.
It's a great matchup. You have to turn Diego Pavia over. And that is the other factor. Bo Prabula is very live to turn the ball over. I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's very talented. This is not a shot at him. I say sometimes the decision making in a moment, but he fumbled against Kansas, and then they were able to bring it all the way back. So he can make up for his mistakes, if he's given enough time to do so. But it's a matter of he still makes the mistakes in the first place.
Right.
Missouri, great defensively on third down, but Vanderbilt is second on offense and converting third downs at 55%. So I give that edge to Vanderbilt. I think that Vanderbilt's bread and butter is keeping your offense off the field, keeping those high-powered running backs on the sideline, keeping Bro Prabula on the sideline, and just milking the clock for everything it's worth. Third down for third down, conversion after conversion for a score.
Mm-hmm.
I think this line is right where it needs to be. Less than a field goal makes perfect sense in my opinion, given the way these teams have shaken out so far. And it's not like I said, Missouri was lucky as hell to beat Auburn last week. Auburn left 9 points worth of field goals off the board.
Yep.
So that's a big difference. And again, they end up going to overtime, especially leave 6 of those points being in regulation. So right now I'm rolling with Vanderbilt. I think that's just where this game lies. I know the stats would favor Missouri, but I think college football more than the NFL deals in the intangibles and the things that will never show up statistically. And if Vanderbilt takes care of the ball and stays, plus or even in the turnover margin, I don't see how they don't win this game. That's kind of where I'm sitting.
Dude, people are actually going to Vanderbilt games now. And,
yeah, dude.
And they're like,
this is great for the SEC.
Stadium. They're packing the stadium, and the student section is lit. And Pavia's feeding off of that. He was feeding off of nothing. But you give him some actual food, and oh my gosh, it's different. I'm with you. It's what's been weird about Missouri is they'll have these little lulls.
They should be so much better.
They'll have these little lulls where they can't get out of first gear on offense, or they turn the ball over, or they give up big plays on defense. But you saw against Alabama, first drive, right down the field.
Yep.
5 plays, boom, touchdown in the end zone. And then they went cold for 3-4 possessions before they finally got the tires to stop spinning. They do something like that against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's the team, we saw it against LSU, against a really good defense. Say what you want to say, and that, I know we were without Weeks and we were without Bernard Gooden, but still, Vanderbilt went down, and we didn't force a punt from Vanderbilt until 5-6 minutes left, maybe 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Bro, Vanderbilt and Alabama
they just go all the time.
Vanderbilt and Alabama are their offensive philosophy right now is so similar. We're just not going to give you the ball back.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take 6 minutes out of this quarter. And the
thing where they kill you the most is they will convert third down by a yard.
Yes, they always get the third and manageable, and if they don't, they might just go for it on fourth down and break your back anyway.
Yeah,
they're just you're just not getting the ball back.
Yeah, or it's 3rd and 8, and they get an 11-yard reception.
And that's the biggest thing against a team like Vanderbilt is rush discipline. You can't get too far upfield or Pavia's gone, man. Mm-hmm. And then also you have to have eyes everywhere. You can't get eyes stuck in the backfield, and you can't get eyes stuck on Pavia because Cedric Alexander's a great running back, and he's just going to let him go. And they also have a stable of guys who can run the ball when they need them to. We've said it many times this year.
But the other part of it is that if you do bring guys up, you're typically bringing up the guys who would be guarding an Eli Stowers, and then he's out
right, and then he's up there cooking. Right. So I like tough. Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
I think that's the chalky answer. But if Missouri would have beaten Alabama, or even not even that, would have just went into Auburn last week and
just stomped them
and just mud stomped them like I wanted them to, then I would be thinking about this game a lot differently. But right now, and Mizzou kind of had this. I think it was the same thing last year where they still had Luther Burden and they still had guys. Where, okay, these guys should be good, and they just fell flat of those expectations. Yeah. Right now, Vanderbilt just keeps ascending, and I don't see that stopping, at least yet, in this game. So I like Vanderbilt.
With you. All right, so we talked about that other high-profile matchup, and this is it. It's Ole Miss at Oklahoma. It's going to be a good one. Trinidad Chambliss proved to, I think, everyone that he is for real, that he's a legitimate, SEC, D1 quarterback. That the days of Ferris State and all that stuff are behind him. They're
also a D2 powerhouse. They win their national championship game by 50 points. So they're just far. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. People just think of the classification. They think D2. No, but if you dominate D2, you're probably pretty good. It's not.
If you're the best team in the entire country, yeah.
Right. So number 8, Ole Miss, goes into Norman, and this one's kind of interesting because like it's really a strength on strength and a weakness on weakness type of game. Oklahoma, even with John Mateer, they're still not like you would not say that the defining characteristic of this team is their offense, right? Their characteristic that stands out the most is the defense. Brent Venables like just locking people down. They're giving up 9 points a game. This defense is stout, legit. Okay. Well, Ole Miss has this offense that how many possessions in a row did they score a touchdown on you guys?
All of them.
All of them.
Almost all of them, except for like the last three. No, literally all of them. Like every possession except for their last three ended in points.
Yeah. So like Ole Miss comes into this game averaging 37.5 points. Oklahoma comes into this game giving up an average of 9.5 points. Something's got to give there, right? But then on the flip side, Oklahoma only averages like 28 points a game, but Ole Miss is giving up 23 points a game. So something's got to give there. Like I think this thing ends up somewhere in the middle. That over under of 51.5 looks like properly placed.
I think so.
Where I think something in that 27-24, 28-24 type range is right in the wheelhouse for this game. And I think, whether it's 4.5, 5.5, whatever, I think Oklahoma is primed to win this game by a field goal to a touchdown, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I could also see this thing be like if the old John Mateer from 2 weeks ago against Texas shows up again, where he looks a little bit out of sorts and his eyes are lying to him, and he's throwing the ball into coverage when he doesn't need to be. Because Ole Miss did they dropped a bunch of guys in coverage. They have like 3 or 4 dudes that can get after you, where they can just rush 3 or 4 and still get to the quarterback. The difference is John Mateer, if he feels ready to start using his legs, and if that thumb injury is behind him enough to where he feels like he can tuck and run, there's some ground to be gained. Because one thing that Ole Miss will do is they will give up rushing lanes. They will give up opportunities for you to make big plays too. So this is just going to be one of those games. I think it comes down to who makes the most big plays and who gets the key stop here or there. Right. Because it could be very similar to what we saw with you guys last week, where this thing is in the 40s before anybody stops anybody.
Yep. Yeah, they scored 35 points in a row, like literally 35 points in a row. Like there was zero stops in our game for either side. Ole Miss's offense is very dynamic. Lane Kiffin is probably one of the best play callers in the modern age of college football. I hate to say that about him, but it's still true. It's the reason he is who he is. And they will dissect your defense. So like it's once again, this is a very strength on strength matchup with Ole Miss's offense versus Oklahoma's defense. Who's gonna bend and not break?
Yeah, so and Kiffin is like mature. Kiffin is a different dude.
Yeah, I don't know if I like
those little Kiffin. Hints of immaturity that still come out.
He's grown up a big way in this being the Ole Miss coach.
He has. He really has, and it's showing in how he's actually like taking care of business in situations where he would blow it before. I think like I don't even count the loss to you guys last week against him, because I think that's just one of those two teams is going to lose that game, and I think he acquitted himself very well in going into Athens and doing what they did, because they were right there with you until you got a couple of stops.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you got to do. That was the difference, is we stopped them 3 times, and that was literally it. Yeah. I think Ole Miss, this game 4.5. I think that if Oklahoma's defense doesn't show up, they can't keep up Ole Miss's offense.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I also believe. So I think that this could be a sneaky get right for Ole Miss, is kind of how I'm feeling right now. Like you said, they could just easily beat us. I think that they're still a good football team, and they have, I think, a mature Lane moves on from a close loss that you can kind of still, in a weird way, be okay but not okay with.
Right.
against us in our house to play this one in Norman.
It's
I don't
weird
know. I
though how
think
you
Ole Miss
have
can win it.
these teams. Yeah, I know I'm with you, and like it seems like more and more colleges are starting to look similar to like the old like the Cowboys in back in the
Yeah.
'90s, where it was like Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and then you had the tight end too, where you know what I mean, like you had dudes, and I think when you look at Ole Miss, it's Trinidad Chambliss and Kejuan Lacey and Daquan Wright.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even like Daquan Wright isn't even their leading receiver, but he's that guy who
Oh,
is
he's
just a
worth.
mismatched nightmare, but
Yeah,
he's so
dog. He's
damn big,
huge, dude.
and
He's
he's
massive.
got the ability to get space, but like Harrison Wallace is a
Caden
good
Lee's still
receiver
there
too.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
So
think Ole Miss is absolutely live in this one, even though they're 4.5 point underdogs. That's kind of
yeah.
how I feel.
On the road too in Norman, it's going to be tough. That's the one where I see like, and you're starting to see this more and more. That's why I say it's looking more and more like the NFL. The margins are so thin that
It's matchups.
it does start to come down to like matchups, whose strengths and weaknesses exploit each other, but then also the home road stuff really, really matters.
Yeah.
Because look at the games, like go look through the whole of college football, and it's like the road teams aren't winning all that often
No,
in
it's so
games
difficult.
that are evenly matched,
Yeah, unless you're Alabama and you come to Georgia.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Speaking of Alabama,
Correct.
this game last year in Tuscaloosa was tightly contested to the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what let Chad and I, before the public, just saying, to believe in Lenora Sellers last year and believe that South Carolina might have deserved like a pseudo playoff spot down the stretch.
So funny because now we flipped it and we were right both times.
Yes, we were right. I was going to say, we bought at the right time and we sold at the right time on Lenora Sellers in the South Carolina Gamecocks.
We need to do a podcast on stock investing. We'll do better.
I was gonna say, no, I'm telling you, we called the we caught the upswing at the right time and we jumped out when it was the right time. But I think that unfortunately, even though this game is in Williams-Brice at 3:30, former CBS College Sports, Gary and Brad and all them calling this game. Oh well, not anymore. Probably I don't even know who's gonna be calling this game. But I think that Alabama just might walk into Williams-Brice and slap South Carolina around and walk out. It's just like, unless Lenore Sellers puts a Superman cape on, like we've said before, but he doesn't have the weapons around him to do the same. He also doesn't have the defensive weapons to get him the ball back.
Right.
And we've talked about that Alabama just is going to third down you and convert and convert and convert and convert and convert and convert some more.
Yep.
And that just is what it is. You can't do anything about it. South Carolina 116th in defensive third down percentage, allowing opponents to convert 44% of the time. Alabama ranks 19th on offense, converting almost 50% of their third down. Alabama's +9 in the turnover margin this year. Something tells me
they've only turned it over like 3 times all year.
Yes, dude. Yeah, they rarely turn the ball over, like ever. And yeah, dude, I just say like Alabama's also third in red zone defense, which is also wild. Like I said, it's all going to come down to Lenora Sellers, dude. It really is. And only 5 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, completed 64% of his passes.
Yeah.
Ty Simpson almost 2K at this point, 18 touchdowns, 1 pick, 70%. Jam Miller's still toting the rock, and all of the receivers are getting busy. Shout out to Rico Scott with a touchdown. He's from my town. And yeah, I think that unfortunately there isn't too much to think about with this game. In another world, and maybe last year, if last year's game was in Williams-Brice, I think that South Carolina honestly could win that game. But Alabama has all gear, everything going the right way for them, and Simpson could win a Heisman because the kid just makes all the right decisions every time. And I think, and now I'm kind of thinking about it more, because let's be real. Yes, Alabama sort of lost weapons on offense, but not really. Other than Jalen Milroe. And what did Jalen Milroe bring to the table? He always brought the chance of turning the ball over. And
Yep.
that's like what let other teams hang around with Bama last year. Plus the penalty yards that they gave up last year, they're not doing that so much this year.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I think this is Alabama all day.
Well, it's I don't know. It seems like it's headed in that direction where we saw Alabama lose that game.
Just throw
opening
that out. That
weekend
means
to
nothing.
what,
That
to
means
what is
literally
turning out
nothing.
to be a bad Florida State
They just
team.
lost to Stanford.
Yeah. So it looks ugly, but it doesn't even matter anymore because now they're on this heater of 6 in a row and going on the road and beating you guys and beating Vanderbilt at home and like you know what I mean. It's just like every test they step up to it. Going on the road and beating Missouri, like it's just like one after another. So going into Williams-Brice and a South Carolina team that's kind of reeling right now. And this is one of those games where I don't know. We'll see what Shane Beamer's got up his sleeve. He could, present a little something that gives a wrinkle, and they're always good at finding a way on special teams to either return a kick, fake a kick, something that gives them an extra possession or two.
The more desperate he
closer.
gets, the crazier he gets.
Yes. And this could be one of those games where the desperation and craziness. And look, I know we talk about it and we kind of say it in passing, but like legitimately, like this is one of those games where if Lenora Sellers is going to put the cape on, it's
he
here.
has to. He has no other choice. Like he has to show up. And like once again, Chad and I still believe in Lenora Sellers as the individual football player. We still believe in the South Carolina team around him. That is kind of where we're at. So we bought high on Lenora Sellers and that football team last year. We sold at the right time.
Yep.
So we bought low, we sold high. And so yeah, like this is a spot where like if you're gonna want to not keep losing, you're gonna have to do something.
That's right.
And so we'll see. But I think that Alabama just kind of smacks South Carolina around and calls it a day. That's kind of where I see this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility by any stretch. The way that we have seen Alabama kind of round into form and, Kalen DeBoer kind of building a little bit better culture, it seems like. It seems like the want to that didn't seem to be there against Florida State is there. And there's an opportunity for Alabama to make a statement here and this is what we talked about with so many of these types of games where like when we went into Vanderbilt last week, went into Nashville, and like that's the type of game that Nick Saban would just kind of be like, you can swing all you want, but you're not touching me. I could see Alabama doing that in this game. And if they do, then it shows a stepping forward with Kalen DeBoer in this program that we have to recognize. I was ready to just I was right there with Matt Moscona, like ready to throw some more dirt on Alabama's grave. I do think though there is something to be said for Nick Saban never did that where he like got his ass handed to him by a bad football team opening weekend.
No.
And so there's still something that's a little bit different, and it remains to be seen when you get to playoff atmosphere, those kinds of things. And then they still got to finish this thing off. They still got to win the Iron Bowl. They still got to welcome LSU into Tuscaloosa in a couple of weeks. And I know we look like crap right now, but we're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for that game too. So there's some matchups that Alabama still has out in front of them for DeBoer to prove himself. But so far, after that ugly loss to open the season, they look like every bit of the part to be a legit national championship contender. And I hate every minute of it. So let's move on to another game.
I mean, it is the reason. Like, I think a part of it is it's like, hey, like they didn't hire Kalen DeBoer for shits and giggles. Like he took Washington, like to a natty. Like it's not just for the hell of it. Like he was a proven coach, and he's proving it now. And the mystique of the black hoodie continues on. Like that's also part of it. This next game, I don't know. I got this like a weird feeling about it. going to
I
start
didn't even want to
Vegas.
cover this game, but you were like, "No, man,
I just got a
we need to cover this one."
weird feeling about it. I don't know what it is. It's gonna be sandwiched like in the it's 4:15 Eastern, so like not prime time slot, and it's not the evening. It's not the late. It's just like we're just gonna throw you in right after.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Jeff Levy's looking for that signature SEC win, and I think it just could come here. Arch could, in a road environment like Starkville, where they now have something to believe in. They still have a winning record, and they could still become bowl eligible, very, very easily. And who would love to play the spoiler to Texas, Texas more than Mississippi State? They almost beat Florida, in the swamp, mind you.
Right.
So who's to tell me that they couldn't beat Texas in Starkville? That's all I'm saying, man. A lot of the stats like favor Texas as Texas as a whole, I should say. They're still 13th in defense and yards allowed per game. I don't know. It's just there's just something about it, and I can't describe it. That just tells me like hey, Mississippi State could obviously. If we record our recap next week and Texas won by 40.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, how did that happen? Because that's what they should do,
right,
ladies and gentlemen. That's
right.
Weren't they the number one team in the country to start the season?
Yep.
Yeah.
They were everybody. Arch Manning was the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, and they were the odds-on favorite to win the national.
Texas fans, where's my microphone? That should be a problem, Texas fans. If I'm saying Mississippi State is live against you after you're the number one team in the goddamn country, that sounds like a problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Sorry, I thought that was too loud in your ears. I just I had to drive the point home.
It's fine.
That's just fuck. I just Sork, great. Oh, you wanna brag about how you got a couple recruits to flip from us to you? Fucking awesome. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Right.
But Mississippi State, I'm just saying, weird things have happened, and in a very sleepy slate of college football. I'm just saying, Chad, this game could shine. I'm just saying. You say it all the time.
I'm here for it.
That Starkville can do weird things.
Yeah, I'm here for it. And those damn cowbells and everything. It's crazy. This thing says TBD for the time, but we do have time. It is 3:15, 4:15 Eastern. Yeah, 3:15 local time.
Yeah.
Okay, Tyler. Yeah. We live in local time here in the South, where we say the game time of the game, not the game time of what you East Coast people.
Yes, sorry, 3:15 local time.
Yes, 3:15 local time. But yeah, Stark Vegas is going to be rocking, and anything can happen. I feel like where Texas has been the last few weeks after that loss to Florida, I think that was the wake up call that they got. They lost to Texas, and I think they were just kind of skating, and it was just like, yeah, well, we, went on the road to Columbus to play the defending national champs. We're good. We're right there. We're the second best team in the country. Rah, 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 rah. Then you go get your ass handed to you in the swamp. Because you're playing like crap, but you're still kind of feeling yourself,
Yeah, at the same time.
Then you get your ass handed to you. Now it's a wake up call. Everything's different, and then they do what they did to Oklahoma, and then they I could see this. I could see them.
This is a letdown spot. This is a trap game letdown spot for Texas if I've ever seen it.
It could be. It could be a big time, trap.
I want it because Sork pisses me off.
I know you want it, but it's hard for it to be a super trap because the Kentucky game they had last week I think was more the letdown trap.
Yeah,
they only won 16-13, so they look ugly, but they're I think this could be their okay. Let's get right. Let's go punch Stark Vegas in the mouth. Because they're going to have to welcome Vanderbilt into Austin in a couple of weeks.
That's going to be fun.
This is going to go one of two ways for Texas. Either they are going to really wreck the SEC championship path and standings, or they are going to be the path to, and it's going to be the path to their destruction as a national championship favorite to start the season. They've got this game at State in Stark Vegas. Okay. In a week, they play Vanderbilt at home, number 10 Vanderbilt. Then they have a bye week. Then they get you guys, number 5 Georgia in Athens. Then they get Arkansas at home, and we've seen it. Like Texas, Arkansas ain't no BS. Okay.
Yep.
And then they finish out the season in Austin against Texas A&M and it's a Friday game right after Thanksgiving.
Oh, that was our game last year. Oh.
And that is the old bonfire game rekindled. And so like 3 top 10 matchups down the stretch for Texas, and they've already got 2 losses. Looking a lot like LSU right now. So who's going to get it done? You know, and look, no BS. Like they really do. Like that's what it reminds me of.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just laughing because you're so right.
Yeah, and look, we're kind of in the same boat. Like they're number 22, we're number 20. Like it's right there, and that's so we were talking earlier about this other conference that they're 5-2 teams. It's like okay, you got 2 5-2 teams playing each other, and that should be a good game. It'll be interesting and everything, but it's of no consequence because neither of those 2 5-2 teams has a chance of winning that conference's championship or making the playoff. Texas and LSU are still Texas is definitely still live because they only have 1 conference loss.
Right.
LSU is still live from the standpoint of like mathematically it could happen because you have a lot of the teams that have 0 or 1 losses playing each other a lot the last 5-6 weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. So things can happen. But yeah, this is Texas and LSU are both like lying on the mat and just fighting for their lives to get back up.
Yep.
Every week.
In the playoff committee, if Texas even scrapes by, the playoff committee will be like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah,
that's they'll get the benefit of the doubt 10 times out of 10 from them.
Yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, just watch your back, Arch, in the start. That's not like a threat. Just be careful at Starkville. At Starkville, those cowbells can be vicious. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
For the road team, that's like a threat.
So a different we go in a different direction. Now we're looking for teams fighting for a playoff spot where there can be only one. It's Highlander rules over here. South Florida, Memphis, an 11 a.m. start at Memphis. South Florida is, I think this line is, 3.5, 4.5, somewhere in that range. I think it's properly sized, and I think they have the proper team favored because I think Memphis is, I'm not going to say they're a fraud, but they're just like, I think we don't know because the testing that is required to know whether someone is legit or not they've not been put through the fire like South Florida has. Let's compare these 2 schedules, okay? You got Chattanooga, Georgia State, Troy, Arkansas, and they beat Arkansas by a point. Then Florida Atlantic, Tulsa, and UAB. They lost to UAB by a touchdown last week.
That was with after firing Trent Dilfer.
Yes, let's compare that to South Florida. Boise State, Florida, Miami, South Carolina State, the same Charlotte. Oh no, that was Chattanooga that they played. So Chattanooga was Memphis, and then South Florida played Charlotte. Then South Florida beat North Texas, who was at the time undefeated and a legit group of 5 playoff contender, right? And they also played Florida Atlantic. They beat them 48-13, whereas Memphis was only able to beat Florida Atlantic 55-26. They're kind of it's a pretty evenly matched game, right? 65.5 points for the over-under. It's going to sound crazy, but I actually think this might be an underplay. I think this game could be a little, because when you start looking at the numbers, neither one of these teams is really good stopping the pass. South Florida at 116th in the country against the pass, and Memphis 93rd in the country against the pass. But they're both pretty stout against the run. South Florida 30th against the run, and Memphis 21st against the run. Memphis has the 13th best running game, and South Florida has the 16th best running game. I think it's going to be a contest of which one of these teams can actually effectively establish any kind of run game, because you can't just sit back there and throw the ball on first, second, and third down all day and expect to not take a sack, have a couple of incompletions, maybe turn the ball over. So you've got to try to establish a running game, but they're both stout against the run, and they both also boast pretty solid run games, if not great run games. And they are, right there, passing offense. South Florida's better, but neither one of them is great. 37th in the country throwing the ball with Byron Brown. And then Memphis is number 80 in the country throwing the ball. So that's why I give my edge to South Florida. I think Byron Brown and the boys, the Bulls, make a few more plays through the passing game. And I think they can probably do a better job with that threat because Memphis is going to have to dedicate some numbers in coverage because of how bad they've been. And that's going to allow for a little bit more running lanes for South Florida, I think. And Memphis takes the L, and they're exposed as the fraud that they are at 6-1.
You give me USF until proven otherwise. Moving on.
Move it on.
Moving on.
So a team that nobody talks about really until game day, and then the game day we'll talk about BYU. But BYU's 7-0.
Yeah.
How do they do this year in, year out?
They just stay good, man. They just stay good.
They just stay good all the time, and nobody really talks about them like they should. Bear Bachmeier is legit. It's, I don't know, man. Something about a quarterback wearing number 47, looking like a tight end, running like a tight end. I don't know that he throws like a tight end, but he definitely looks like a tight end, and he's your quarterback. And it's just like, it's so crazy because you have like this dude who just looks like this standard white tight end guy or whatever. And he's playing for BYU. His name is Bear. And he's playing for like this Samoan coach, Kalani Sitake, who's like, gets no credit. Like this dude just churns out like 10-2, 11-1 seasons year in, year out. And nobody talks about him as a potential coach somewhere else because I think he's just right at home in BYU.
I was like I've been for weeks now. I've been racking my brain. I'm like, what quarterback with a high number is like poking in my head? It was Devin Gardner from Michigan. Wore number 9. I was like, Denard Robbins doesn't sound right. He wore 16.
No,
like, yeah, I was gonna say. So Devin Gardner wore number 98. That's what it was. I'm like, yes. I know, I can see it. I can see those ugly Adidas uniforms.
Yeah.
Now, okay, that's been bothering me for weeks, ladies and gentlemen. And I finally remember looking
up. That's what you were googling while I was talking. That's funny.
Yes, I was you can see me like on my phone. I was like, oh, okay, but yeah,
Kalani Sitake, really good coach, but like a guy who, it's funny because like all the buzz after James Franklin was fired is about Matt Campbell getting some looks. And I get it. Like he's a good coach and everything, but like Iowa State, they have this tendency. It's kind of like, it's funny because everybody wants to talk about Iowa State. About Matt Campbell taking the Penn State job. And it's like, it's funny because the trajectory looks awfully a lot like Penn State's, where it's pull off a couple of, like go win your games you're supposed to win. And then, win half of those ones where you're kind of evenly matched. But when it comes to like time to like go get one done, you still end up, you're 5-2, you're 8-3, you're 7-4. And you're just like, I don't know how we got here, but I thought we were better than this. And you don't win the Big 12. And I'm not saying this is not any shade at Matt Campbell. I know they've got like, there's 2 starting corners are out, and there's a lot that is in a shambles on their defense. But I'm trying to figure out how in the hell Iowa State is favored in this game.
I don't know. I would say I'll take BYU as a dog till all day, every day.
Yeah,
like, you beat Utah and you're undefeated. Like, why would I have any reason to doubt you? Zero, literally zero. So
Bear Bachmeier is like a poorer, slower man's version of Diego Pavia, where he's just got this like, I'll just put it on my back and I'll like that. If you didn't see that 22-yard touchdown run he had last week, you got to see it. Like this dude, I'm telling you, it looked like Derrick Henry carrying dudes from the 8-yard line into the end zone. Like when he breaks through on like a broken passing play and he like cuts up the middle, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, he got the first down. And then it's just like a pile of people, and next thing you know, that pile of people is falling into the end zone, and he's in there with the ball, scoring the touchdown. It's impressive. So let's go to the numbers here. BYU 24th running the ball, and Bear Bachmeier may not be their leading rusher, but he's damn close. He is number 2 with 359 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns from the quarterback position.
That's crazy.
But they have a really good running game. LJ Martin has 774 yards in 7 games, averaging 110 a game. Only the 4 touchdowns, but he's like their guy between the 20s, just like they're feeding him the ball, and he and Bachmeier have that little read option game going where one of them is gonna shred you up. And Bachmeier's throwing the ball a little bit too, 1386 and 9 touchdowns for the 85th best pass offense. Conversely, on the other side of it, you got Iowa 64th against the run and 53rd against the pass. And then BYU is 53rd against the run. And it's funny, like Iowa State's just like so like middle of the pack in everything. 64th against the run, 53rd against the pass, 60th running the ball, and 64th against the pass, or 64th passing the ball. BYU is a lot more like, so their defense is really stout, 53rd against the run and 29th against the pass. And then they just struggle. They don't throw the ball. I would say they struggle throwing the ball. It's not that they struggle throwing the ball. They just don't throw it that much. Barrett Mockmeyer is still out there completing 63% of his passes, and he's only thrown 3 interceptions with 9 touchdowns. It's just that they run the ball so effectively. Why would you throw it more than you absolutely have to? So look, man, if I'm betting this game, give me BYU in the points until proven otherwise.
All day.
So
all day.
And I'm prepared to be wrong.
Me too, dude. That's how I feel about some of these games, like especially this last game here. That you could pull up. It's really easy. It's not gonna take much. Y'all stop. Do you see this the most fraudulent 6-1 that you will ever see, dude? And let me tell you something. I have to pull it up here.
More fraudulent than
dude,
Memphis.
Yes, because Houston's like they beat Stephen F. Austin. Congratulations, 27-0. Rice, Colorado, who only has 1 win. Oregon State, who only has 1 win and fired their coach. Oklahoma State, 1 win, fired their coach.
Yeah.
And barely edged out Arizona. And they got beat by Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And you know who beat Texas Tech? Arizona State. I rest my case. There you go.
Shout out to Kenny Dillingham. Yeah, they're back. Yeah. Sam Levitt's back. Jordan Tyson is back.
That's what I mean. Yeah, just chalk this up for a W, Arizona State. That's all. Like Houston's the most. And no offense to Connor Wegman, I think he's found a home here at University of Houston. They're just not as good as Arizona State, and they're the most fraudulent 6-1 bowl eligible team I've maybe ever seen. So that's where I rest my case.
Fair enough. I'm with it.
I rest my case. I'm not going to waste y'all's time.
All right, we did it. We under an hour. We're good.
Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. We appreciate each and every one of you for your support. Thank you we found some LSU fans who agree with Chad.
We just have to suck, and then all the LSU fans come out of the woodwork when we talk
about everybody can put their arms around each other and say it's going to be okay. Fire Joe Sloan and maybe even Brian Kelly. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. This has been the South End Zone for me and for Chad. Have a great weekend. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen. Our intent was to eat. Our intent was to come eat and be hungry.
We're taking receipts and we'll see at the national championship.